All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Tennis Channel Inside In. We're on the Tennis Channel Podcast Network, available on all your platforms. Mitch Michals from the Santa Monica studios, recording on a Sunday, day of action done at the All England Club. We're into the second week of Wimbledon. Got Barstool Hubbs back on the program. It's major season. We're on to the grass. Hubbs, welcome back to the program. I know it was an eventful Roland Garros. We saw Alcaraz and Iga, claim their thrones there. Now we're on to the grass, and still a lot of excitement and a lot of drama and intrigue to unfold.
This is great. I love how this has unfolded. I think the men's side is great. It's not necessarily wide open. I guess we'll get to that with the women, but there's been some big upsets on the women's side. A ton of 5-setters, like a record. Did we break the record? Yeah, okay, broke the record. They were on pace too. Thrilling matches, tons of come from behinds. You had Runa's like just 2 days ago. That was awesome. I'm having a blast watching it. I love Wimbledon. I don't know if the players love it as much with how much slippage there's been and how many injuries we have. That's definitely going to be a dark cloud over this, especially today, man. If you had Court 1 tickets, I feel bad. But all in all, I think we're set for a really good second week, and I'm pumped to see it unfold.
Yeah, I'd also say, too, this is my favorite time to record one of these podcasts because I get it, and it's unfortunate we can't give props to everybody early in the tournament. There's just so many matches, so many storylines. So some stuff gets swept under the rug, unfortunately, and brushed aside. At this point now, as we go from 16 to 8, we're able to kind of spend some time on how each of these players got there and how remarkable it is dealing with the adversity, dealing with the draw in a lot of cases, and just finding a way through. Starting with the guy that's done it a lot this year, Jannik Sinner beats Ben Shelton in a match today that was highly touted. 3 sets, pretty tight at the end. That long tiebreak. Sinner wins, though, in straight sets, 11-9 in that tiebreak. Starting from the Jannik front, Hubbs, he came in with Alcaraz a slight favorite. They're about co-favorites now on course for the semifinal matchup. Sinner this year, 42-3. His grass court game looks impeccable. And when you see a guy that's able to just do anything with Ben Shelton's serve, that'll make me think, okay, what weaknesses is there? Sinner is just such a complete tennis player. Unless you're a guy like Carlos Alcaraz, you wonder in best of 5, how do you get through this guy? Yeah,
to me, Sinner is the leg up favorite right now. Like if those two are playing, I'd imagine Vegas has him as the odds-on favorite. And you just watch him play. Like those first 2 sets, Ben had nothing. And Ben's serve is great. You need so much more to beat Jannik Sinner. And especially on grass here and the way he's playing. And I was a little concerned early in the tournament because he got the hip thing and he drops a set really early on. And then today he's looking at his left wrist for a little bit, but I don't think that bothered him at all. I don't know what that was. But to me, that's the only way I almost see if Carlos plays the way he's played so far in this tournament, which I don't think is his best level. I don't think it's how he played last year when he won the whole thing. Like if he plays at this level, I think Jannik has it. Like there has to be another gear. And maybe that comes with like the bigger moment because Carlos rises to these moments. Yeah. Like he lives for this. So maybe that added gear is coming. Maybe it comes against Tommy Paul. But right now, he plays the way he against Ugo. And I know Ugo was lights out. Like you almost have to tip your cap to Ugo and not even like criticize Carlos for his level. But Carlos got to step it up if he wants to get on Jannik's level because that man is not someone to trifle with. Even like Djokovic of a couple of years ago, which I think would have trouble with this version of Jannik. It is a scary version. And also watching that kind of match, and you watch Carlos just before, you take a step back again. You'd be like, man, we are very lucky to have these 2 guys at the top of the sport, where Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, are out of the way, or Djokovic, the last man standing here.
Right.
We're very lucky to have those 2 guys for the next 10 to 12 years. That's gonna be awesome.
We certainly are. Sinner now in his 3rd straight quarterfinal at the very least. And remember, he loses to Djokovic the last 2 years. We're going to get to Djokovic on the other side later, but it's not like he hadn't done it on grass. He just kept running into the king of this surface. So there is that point of it. The other side of it, too, Hubbs, is he's battle-tested. This match, Berrettini in round 2, I think that's a great thing. He's coming through unscathed. I think he's going to be okay going forward, but he is a battle-tested. He is
poor Matteo, by the way. If he plays anyone else, he's probably still in the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, he was. Yeah, like I think that.
Like, dude, if he had Djokovic at this state of Djokovic, I think he probably beats Djokovic. Like, I don't know. Like, Djokovic takes some time to get into these tournaments, usually in his top level, and he's obviously said he's nowhere near that. Matteo got a really tough draw here because he looked good.
He did, one of the worst. And for Shelton, too, I just want to say, I was critical at times of, it hadn't happened yet for him on grass. I think part of that is just you need reps on this surface. He never grew up playing on it. The stamina thing was real. 3-5 setters that he won, a testament to his compete level. But he had to play Shapovalov basically the whole match yesterday, then to play the world number one. I know he's not a no excuses guy, but that's almost a death sentence against anyone of this caliber.
Oh, dude, yeah, you need to have all the breaks go your way if you're going to beat Sinner. He had none of the breaks go his way. He's played every day. Even the day he didn't play, he thought he was going to play. So he's warming up to get ready to go. I don't think it was probably smart of him to play doubles yesterday. I think he even has doubles to finish today or so. I don't know. I never like when top tier players are playing doubles. I know doubles are great with fans, whatever. I want my guys I don't want anyone to expend any more energy than you need to do. I don't know if that's a hot take, but I do love the way Ben showed up in that third set. He started to play a little bit more conservatively, not too much YOLO tennis, and started to put more balls in. Try and get to Sinner a little bit more, and he was doing it, man. He was doing the damn thing. He battle tested Jannik Sinner today, and I bet Sinner is happy that third set went the way it did too. That will serve him well for the rest of the week. But I think Ben, at some point, he's going to become like a Berrettini-esque on this surface. His game is just built that way, right? It just he's got to just kind of put the puzzle piece together. But in 2 years, probably a guy that you will have a very bad time playing on this surface.
153 on the radar gun, set the Wimbledon record with the serve. Just ridiculous. Yeah, it's footwork. It's almost like learning a dance move with choreography and everything. He's going to get there. It just takes time for anyone on this surface. Segueing into another player in this draw, I'll just ask this question, Hubbs, as a general sports fan. Where do you put Carlos Alcaraz on the pecking order of just great fan experiences for a crowd? You're watching me play.
I have said this since I saw him in person, beating Tsitsipas in 5 sets when no one knew who this guy was. He is right up there at the top. If you go to a car, I have brought my buddies Nate and Fights to. To be fair, we went to the Jannik Sinner Carlos Alcaraz match at the U.S. Open. You just can't get better than that as a tennis match. But they all they had to do is see one match. It did go till 3 a.m. But they are now Carlos Alcaraz guys. All it takes is one match, and you don't have to like the sport. You will now not only like the sport, you will follow this guy around and whatever he does and be excited about it. He is that can't miss, can't watch. The banana forehand down the line today. The set winner, set 2, where he's fallen down twice. He's out of the picture. Ugo thinks that he's just given up on the point, so he taps it over, and then Carlos is there, just hit it. He is as electric as it gets. Maybe sometimes it's to a curse because he tries to almost chase those Instagram highlights, those viral moments and all that. And in a few years, it'll be really scary because he'll stop chasing those and he'll just start beating everyone to a pulp. So right now is almost the time to get him, but he's still winning while he's doing that. He is as electric as it gets. I tried my best to spread the word. This is a good time for this. I wrote down some notes, by the way.
Let's hear them.
And one note is my Wimbledon just doesn't want to grow the game, and it is infuriating. Can we tweet out highlights when they happen?
I know you guys basically bullied them to.
I bullied them. I know I did. I absolutely know I did. We had Ali. I follow him on Twitter. He's got 40K followers. Great tennis follow. He tweeted out the still image of Carlos won this point. That's all we had, as if it was we're watching something from the 50s with the moon landing. Hey, the moon landing happened. Here's a picture of it. That's what Wimbledon's like. Come on, man, grow the game. Stop this. I never sign up for petitions. I signed up for one for some guy who put on change.org or whatever. And it was for Wimbledon. Tweet out highlights. Or anyone, just stop DMCAing people. It's infuriating, man. We just want to grow the game. Basketball has become so popular, the NBA, because they don't DMCA highlights. They just let it rock. Right. And and guess what the TV money's doing? Tennis, you want to look at their TV deal? It's insane. Wemby's going to get $100 million a year in a few years because of this deal.
I know.
I'm sorry. It's a vet. Sorry, it's a rant. You can cut it out if you don't want it in there, but I just had to let it off my chest.
No, it's good. We're going to keep that in there. I did want to mention about Alcaraz, though, because that shot, the banana forehand, was disgusting. Maybe he does, and that might be the criticism, too, is he has so many tools in his tool bag, Paul Anico philosophy of it, that sometimes it's hard for him to decide what to play given all that he can do. I also pointing out, I know he hasn't played his best, which we can get into that, and you already brought up, being tested by Tiafoe, by Hugo Humbert, two quality players for sure. But with that win over Tiafoe, I looked at the stats, 12-1 now in 5-set matches. So there is this new stat database thing that we're seeing is that Alcaraz in 5th sets is just money.
Oh, dude. They asked him about it. And he was like, basically like, I know I'm better than them in the 5th set. Like, I know they're out of gas, and guess what? I'm still really young, and I have more fitness than anybody here. And I'm going to, once I get here, you better have beaten me basically before this moment. Otherwise, it's over. And you could just see there's nothing. Tiafoe had nothing there. Like, it was special the way that Carlos just zoomed through there. And, you know, I want the Americans to do well, obviously. And I said this, and someone was like, "You're rooting against the Americans." I'm like, listen, man, I have a rule. Carlos is my guy. I want him to win all the slams in the world. I will root for the Americans when it's later in the tournament against Carlos, because then, you know, like, once we have a chance, once I see that, like, okay, but the second round, we don't. I
guess we'll revisit that. I guess we'll revisit that at the end of this podcast.
Oh no, I tell, it's Tommy. I'm a Tommy guy, but like, this is the moment where I would. But early in the tournament, like, I need Carlos in it. That's just more of the, you know, the entertainment and the excitement is him in it. But I do, you know, it is back to the original point though. It is crazy to see the extra gear that he has in that 5th set. I'm curious if we get a Sinner Carlos. What does Sinner do in that 5th set if they get there? Like, you know, at this level and this surface and the way he looks, like, is 12-1, 12, you know, let's see. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, 100% agree there. I'd also just point out, I think part of the reason why he's being tested, maybe not at his best level, he is clearly the hunted now. It goes without saying. Everybody in that locker room knows he's the guy or one of the top 2 guys with Sinner. So you're getting your best effort, and you mix that in. It's great. Again, more on these players going forward. But other matches today that we wanted to recap: Tommy Paul, as we alluded to, goes to Roberto Bautista Agut in 3 sets, really playing the most efficient tennis of his career. And Hubbs, when you break it down on grass court, it's funny because you wouldn't say necessarily that all the weapons of his game match up perfectly with grass versus other surface, but he's just figured out how to play on this surface, how to do the things you need to do to succeed. And his natural athleticism shines through regardless of where he's playing tennis.
Yeah, his success last year on the grass, I'm pretty sure he was just like confused by it. He goes, I didn't know I was going to love the grass, but I guess I do. His match against RBA, and granted, this is a withered version of RBA. I was shocked to even see him like this far in the tournament. Welcome back. There was a point in Tommy's early career where he was in that struggling to get through, crack the top 50, top 40. You didn't know what you were going to get out of him in his career. Is he going to take the next step? Then he started working with the better coach, obviously, cared, locked more in, and then got to this level. But in that 50s, 40s range, he couldn't take a set off RBA. He went his first 3 sets against RBA, first 3 matches against RBA were straight sets. Just, he didn't have a chance. He was outclassed. And RBA is a very frustrating game, obviously. Puts a lot of balls in, doesn't, just frustrates the hell out of you. Very Manarino-esque, I want to say. Maybe with a little more power. But Tommy, now it's this level. It was a sweat. They were making jokes on the TV like, is he in a rush? What's going on? To be fair, he was, because of the darkness. He didn't want to have to wait the extra day. But that third set, once he got through the tiebreak, that third set was a breeze. That forehand down the line, he was even stunned himself that he hit it. He is advanced to a level now where I think he's just consistently going to be here at this, and maybe even a little bit higher. And he got obviously the #1 American ranking that I know he cares a hell about. So I'm happy for him. I'm happy that his game has evolved to this point, and he really does seem like the most steady American tennis player on the men's side. And it's scary because he can get a lot better still. But his serve was a weakness at one point. I don't really think it's a weakness at the moment. His speed will always be some of the best there is. His fitness will be some of the best there is. And that is why he is a dangerous matchup for Carlos, because he can just make you hit the extra ball, can be very frustrating. And then eventually he can counter a little bit with you. So that's why Carlos has had trouble with him. And I'm stoked that we get this quarterfinal match.
On the grass, the buck usually and pretty much always stops with the serve. Tommy Paul's serving much better. He is an efficient server. He's hitting his spots. He's trusting it on big points. He's built up that muscle memory. Everything just looks smooth. I think that's the way to describe it. He's just smooth on the grass right now, which is something that I don't think he would have even believed a year and a half ago. The other men's match today, unfortunately, we didn't get a finish out of it. Dimitrov had to retire, another one of those court one injury bugs. Fortunate, unfortunate, brutal, especially someone of his age, playing some good tennis. But for that, it means Medvedev is back, just advancing along in a draw. Just doesn't make sense sometimes. Whatever it happens, here he is, week 2 of a major, into another quarterfinal. So Medvedev on the grass, finding a way by hook or crook to get to the quarterfinals.
I think Grigor was going to beat him today if he was healthy. I think this was a very bad spot for Medvedev. I think the odds reflected that. I think the start of the match reflected that. Medvedev is very lucky to still be alive in this tournament. And it, brutal for Grigor, someone at his age, slipping, was playing great tennis, wasn't expending a lot of energy on the court either to get to this point, which is a dream for an older guy, obviously. You want to save it up for here. And, it seemed like maybe this was a moment for him, semifinal. What's going on here? Nope, right. Not the case. So that's very sad. But yeah, Medvedev advances. So he'll play Sinner.
Yeah, he'll play Sinner.
That won't be a contest in my opinion.
They played a bunch, and we'll preview this at the end. But Medvedev made the semis last year, lost to Carlos, hadn't really done anything on the grass. We'll see. I mean, Medvedev is just a player that I just describe it, Hubbs, as when you need somebody, it's going to be him. Like if we got injuries, if we've got problems, if we've got a player that underperforms, well, we can just put Medvedev in and swap him here. So brings a lot to the game. That commercial with Macron was pretty good.
Oh, that was hilarious. That caught me so off guard. I was on vacation earlier in the week. I'm just like, what is happening? What's going on? Great character.
More Barstool Hubbs here on Tennis Channel Inside In, talking about now some of the women's results. Wimbledon on this Sunday, the middle Sunday that we do play tennis now officially, which is kind of nice. Upset of the day, upset of maybe the tournament so far. Coco Gauff out to Emma Navarro. True tennis heads might not consider this a pure upset because of what Navarro had been doing, but for Gauff, she loses as the 2 seed. I had a bad feeling about this, Hubbs, not because I knew how good Emma Navarro was playing, but anytime they say this is so-and-so's tournament to lose, I just get that sinking feeling in my stomach.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I thought the same way. I thought Emma had a really good chance here until I saw the odds, and I'm an odds man. I thought the odds reflected Coco was in a good spot here to take this home. I thought if it was going to be a little lower in the minus 250, minus 200 range, I would be like, oh, this is Emma's. It was like 350, 400. I was stunned by at least how easy this was for her. Like
she's a stud, and the thing is, like, she beats Naomi Osaka, she beats Coco, so she's knocking out major champions. But if you go back to, this is someone that's only been in the top 100 for I think 15 months or so.
Yeah.
So this meteoric rise has been big. But look at some of the results she's had, beating players like Sabalenka. Plays Paulini next, she owns her in the head-to-head. She just goes through draws left and right. Like it's not a ranking rise that the draw opened up and you took advantage of it. She's just going through whoever's in front of her, and the way she plays with her variety, that was the note I had written down. Coco couldn't hit through her because Emma was everywhere. She could move, she could come to net. She's blocking back serves. It was a full all-court performance by a player that I think is here to stay.
I mean, honestly, going into this with how Osaka tested Iga on clay, some were like, this is Osaka's little area to go through. And Emma said, absolutely not. That was kind of the first, whoa, kind of moment. And now why I'm not partially all that surprised that this happened, because Emma doesn't fear anyone. And she is the embodiment, so is Rybakina, of never get too high, never get too low emotionally. That girl is even keeled the whole way. Thought she smiled though when she won, and I gave a fist bump. That was the most emotion I've ever seen from her. But I think that is so cool. Tommy, very similar way, although he's started to actually kind of show a lot more emotion. But maybe used to be that way. But no, she plays. It's an intimidating silence. She is she is a silent killer, and she really doesn't have many flaws in her game. And the way that she attacked Coco, she was aggressive. She took time away from Coco. They made a point to say in the broadcast how Coco's forehand takes a long time to set up, and if you take time away from that, that's all tennis is. If you take time away from someone, the match completely flips. So Emma did a great job of that, and even in that final game, service game, she held her own. I think she breathed. Now, I don't want to give predictions, but she's a really good draw right now. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, the final of her and Rybakina would be very emotions.
Oh my God, there would be zero sounds, and there would be no emotion whatsoever.
You watched it on mute, and you weren't watching thing. It'd be like, who's winning, who won? Like, I don't even after match.
It'll be a silent film. It'll win an Oscar for silent, and every critical would vote for it.
It's a good point about tennis because Coco didn't have her best stuff today. I mean, she served pretty well. The forehand let her down, which has unfortunately been a thing. But there was a point in the match towards the end where Brad Gilbert, her coach, was like, go more backhand to backhand. I chuckled a little because it's like, yeah, that's the plan. Maybe that's what I'm trying to do. But the other person is not really letting me do this. So it's funny. Like, it's good advice. But like sometimes coaching, like the other players are just doing stuff. So I guess,
you're very right. It's like, the coaching is helpless. They're like, that would be great. Like, it's honestly like me in like Little League. Throw more strikes, Eric. I wish I could. It's not working at the moment. Like I'm not very, whatever. But I forget who the announcer was. The woman was criticizing Coco for asking for so much advice, and she starts by saying that she's 20 years old. She's still really young. Like, I can understand. She won the Grand Slam, and she's taking this meteoric rise. She's still 20 years old. Put yourself in 20-year-old shoes. Right. I'd still be asking for advice when I have nothing going for me at the moment. Give her a break.
She's heading back to the U.S. hardcourt swing after the Olympics, obviously, where I expect her to do well. Super young, has gotten into the second week of all these majors. I'll pat myself on the back once. It hasn't happened much, but in terms of Wimbledon for the women, this is the major that I think is going to be the most wide open. You could even make the case on the men's side where you might have some different winners, but on the women's side, because Iga obviously having the stranglehold on clay, she loses the Putin-Seva, 28 forehand errors in that match. So she's not able to slide, not able to finish points as well on grass. Coco, I think we'll get there. I think we're both in the same boat. She's super young on grass. It'll happen. She's giving herself enough chances. So then you start looking, Rybakina, maybe Navarro steps up others. But it's an open Wimbledon on the women's side this year, and it might be for years to come.
I still think it's Rybakina's to lose. I've thought that since the beginning of the tournament. When there was just a question more of her health than anything going into the tournament.
She's got to get to the match. She's got to wake up, feel good, and get to the match.
Right,
and then
but with that serve on grass, it can do a lot worse than have that serve on grass. It can win you a lot of free points there. I do agree from the others. If you take her out of the equation, right. Iga's not going to dominate here. Iga's talking about taking vacations, so she's not locked in here whatsoever. And on the men's side, anything's more locked in than what we had in the last 15 years where, Federer into Djokovic. So it all feels free and open. Is it really just a two-man game, with Carlos and Sinner? But at least it's a two-man game, right? Like, there's not one clear. I'd say they're both probably, neck and neck here chances-wise. But sure, like you see the way Ugo played today, I was a little concerned at one point, like for Carlos. Haven't seen that yet necessarily for Sinner, but we'll see what Tommy has for Carl. Like, I'd agree. It's wide open now. Sure.
We had a brutal match ending today also on the women's side with Madison Keys going out to Jasmine Paolini, up 5-2 serving for it. Hurts herself. Sounded pretty bad. Like, by all accounts, pretty bad. Not entirely sure what it is, but had to retire. Brutal for Keys, who's been in this position before, also has just an outstanding grass court record and an opportunity in a draw to really do some damage. So it sucks. It's part of sports that's not fun. Court one again dealing with this, but Keys was right on the precipice of something special, and unfortunately her body just didn't hold up.
It's brutal. I thought the second set, I was stunned that she pulled that out in the tiebreak after blowing 5-1, 40-15. To mentally just push through that, I think it was big for her because she's got a history of not being so great on the mental side late, to get through slams, but she overcame that, won the second set, went up 2 breaks in the third, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, she's just outplaying Paolini here. She's outpowering her. Even the way she won the second set was a crazy point. Like, from Keys, you never really see her win that way. So, she was giving me some hope there, and just brutal that the court took it away from her. And the way she couldn't even finish the match. I feel gutted for her. That was brutal. That was a very sad, brutal watch.
Paolini again had no Wimbledon wins before this year. Backs up Roland Garros. I don't know what's more impressive, backing up the Roland Garros final or just coming into a place you've never won before. It's kind of crazy.
I would say it's this. Like, because her at least her game is like, you see her game, you're like, oh, that's a Roland Garros type player. I wouldn't necessarily. She's so little. Like, I wouldn't think that she could win anything here. And it's very impressive.
The other winners today, not who you might have on your bingo card, but the Vekic-Badosa match that took, I think, 7 hours to play with all the rain delays.
Oh my God.
They just fought through it. Donna Vekic pulls it out. Paul Badosa back playing healthy is good, and being in the mix on a surface that isn't really her specialty was great. But for Donna Vekic, who's still another one that's under 30, I looked at that. I'm like, wow, she's been around forever. She's, I think, 27, 28 years old. But she continues to have some success on grass, and now she'll play Lulu's son on the other side, who beats Emma Raducanu, and a player that had to save a match point, Hubbs, in the second round of qualifying, is now a quarterfinalist at Wimbledon.
That was crazy. What's she? 50 winners, 55 winners. It was something like that. It was
redlining. That was redlining, to say the least. And I'll also point this out: kind of a road game. Like, you're playing Emma Raducanu in Wimbledon. Like, you're a road dog and still finding a way.
Yeah. I feel for Emma, but good for Emma too, though, to have this kind of moment, especially at Wimbledon, where she's had a tough road with injuries and living up to the hype after winning the U.S. Open, where the British media and everything could put so much on you. And I think she's dealt through a lot, but her game looks like it's in a really good spot despite not coming up with the W today. Like, I think just to get to this point is a win for her, and that can help with confidence moving forward. I hope that the whole Andy Murray thing wasn't too much on her. So I saw some of that. Judy Murray tweeting at her, or tweeting at the tweet or whatever about it. I don't know, man. Just focus on you. It's a mixed doubles. I know it's Andy Murray, but he got his send off with the men's doubles as brother. No one was really going to watch this. Come on, like that. Let's not get on her for that.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I completely agree. I think the number one thing being it is mixed doubles. There's a history of this. Players prioritize singles, as they should. Murray had his send-off. It was a great fitting send-off. If the argument from the counter to this is that, it's about Murray's moment, it's not about you, so then you're basically saying that it's not about the actual tennis. It's about a moment.
Yeah. And then they were also saying, like, okay, like, we understand prioritizing singles, but she should have known this going in. Known that, like, her wrist was going to bark up? Like, how? Yeah. And then people are like, she's not even wearing tape on her wrist. All right. Like, what are you doing here? Come on. Leave the girl alone.
There's plenty to criticize her and other tennis players for, but this is not. This is a nothing.
Also, like, it's as if people ignored it. He got his whole, like, all the players were there. He got the video. If he didn't have any of that and they were saving it for this moment, I understand. He got the whole swan song. We don't need. No one really cared about that. Come on, let's move on from that.
Yeah, it's if you want to say one thing, it would be maybe that the format to where, because I think they had to find another team. If you want to talk about the replacement setting and how that would work, okay. But for Emma to get flack for that, I don't get it. She just got outplayed today. I think that's what it came down to. It's good that she's on her timeline. But wow, fun stuff. Well, there are some other matches too.
One quick thing: the Lulu who beat her.
Yeah.
What a life that woman has lived. New Zealand, lives in Switzerland since she's 5, goes to Texas. Now she's here ripping everybody apart. And she looks really good. That's a fun, like, her sister's hysterically crying in the stands, her whole family. I was getting emotional for her. I had, hand up, never heard of her heading into this tournament. This girl's electric. I want to root for her. She's like almost, I hope she keeps going.
Yeah, 23 years old. Went to Texas in college, but I think it was Croatian dad, Chinese mom, New Zealand born.
What's going on? Switzerland. It's a lot going on.
Kept it going and played great. So props to her. And hey, plays Vekic next. We'll see. Well, the matches tomorrow on the women's side, they're 4th round matches that are going to be played. Some interesting ones. And I know we're looking at Rybakina, maybe it being her draw, her tournament. She plays Kalinskaya. Obviously in the news because she's dating Jannik Sinner now, but someone that's also had some pretty good results too. So not a cakewalk, a very game competitor. We know how this works. That's a big matchup.
Yeah.
As is, there's another wild card in this, and I don't mean in the true sense. I mean in the could do some damage. And Elena Ostapenko's here. We've talked about her before. She's here in a weird way, Hubbs. I think she might have rather played Iga in this matchup than Putin.
Iga almost might have lost to just save the whole Ostapenko situation, because that would have not come over. But yeah, that's a very fun, even match. Putin save Ostapenko. I don't know what court they're going to put that on, but if they put that on a stadium, that'll be some theatrics, I'm sure, with her how she goes about a match, I'd say. But yeah, and you also got Danielle Collins here. I feel like she's been really under the radar. And obviously, Matthew McConaughey's tweeting about her.
Yeah, he's done great. He's tweeting about Tommy Paul, obviously. Danielle Collins got the tweet. I think he needs to get the Lulu Sun tweet for the Texas connection too. So that's the only one missing.
He may just not know. So someone's just got to tell him, and then he'll go. Then he'll just go. He'll actually probably just be there tomorrow if he finds out she went to Texas.
Yeah. Ostapenko Putintseva, by the way, on court 1, so they are going to be putting that there.
Okay.
Then the Collins thing. This has just become one of the best final years that we've seen.
Crazy.
And I think it was the McConaughey way that, like, this is just the last step. Like, what it really is, Hubbs, is that she's so focused on her goal and her task at hand, and she knows that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
I think for athletes, and you cover with the NBA and the MLB with some of your Barstool coverage, that you can be stuck on the hamster wheel where it just doesn't seem like there's an end in sight. And if you're losing, it's like, how do I stop this? She just has such a singular focus now. It really is inspiring her, and it's giving her that motivation and belief when she's down, a couple games to head Ed Meyer in a perilous position that she can come back and do well.
Yeah, and I think it's also simplifying, right? This is it. We're not coming back here next year. We're not gonna, we're improving. No, this is just it. Like, we're just gonna let it all out here. Nothing to lose. You've already achieved so much. I think that also is a big play. Like, she has won so much this year already that it almost is like, who cares how this finishes? No one's gonna criticize you. Everyone's been like, dude, you're awesome. Like, we want you back. So I think that having the nothing to lose kind of attitude with a big swinger like her is a good combination and a terrible one for opponents.
Krejcikova Barbora is a tough player, a major champion, so we'll see how that match goes, but you got to like Danielle's chances. Well, we're going to continue on here on Tennis Channel Inside In with Barstool Hubbs. It's time to talk about the men's matches tomorrow. As you listen to this, it might be taking place, but Novak Djokovic, Holger Rune. This is an interesting one. We've all had circled for a lot of reasons. Two different philosophies, two different ways to look at it, starting with the Djokovic side of things. Just him getting here, I don't think people quite appreciate what it's taken for him. I know the draw has been favorable, but he's having to play himself back into actually playing well with the knee. Djokovic getting here, and the overarching thing, we've waxed poetically about how great this guy is. Just knowing the right buttons to push and knowing how much to expend each and every time. I think that match against Popperin was a game match, but he knew, okay, I'm just going to do just enough to preserve myself for the later rounds of this tournament.
Yeah, I thought he was going to have trouble, much more trouble in that match than he did. He just does drop the set, but a big server like that, you just never know how that's going to go. They played before, tight match. He was rock solid from the moment right after he lost the set. It didn't matter; it was over in Djokovic way. Now I do wonder, as the competition racks up here, then now he's going to get the benefit of not having to be on the Sinner Carlos side, right? So he doesn't have to beat both of them; he's got to beat one of them. So that certainly plays in his favor. Now, can he get to the final? Probably less of a guarantee than it has been in the past, and probably any slam he's ever played in, right? I would probably say so. So there's there's more uncertainty in Novak's, and do you necessarily buy the quotes he's saying as a little gamesmanship? Because he looks pretty good out there. But maybe he's still wearing the sleeve. Fritz has talked about that injury before and had day 20, and he's past that now. You're surprised at how good you feel. Fritz, we've seen Fritz's results, immediately right after that injury, and it was pretty damn good. So, I'm surprised at him not at the same time because he's so great and he's such a legend. But I am curious how, he hasn't necessarily beaten the stiffest of competition, like you just said.
Right.
As that increases, do we then notice that he is a step slower? Have we not had to notice it yet because he hasn't been necessarily tested? We will see in this match as Holger Rune, one, not scared of that guy whatsoever. He plays him tough, I'd say, every single time. Holger Rune also a young guy with confidence now. He has not played well, I feel like, in the last 365 days. All of a sudden, it's clicking right now. Good for him. The comeback yesterday was electric. There was a bit of Djokovic-ness in that 2-0 comeback, I felt like, where I felt like it was inevitable. He was he was just a better dude, and he just took it 1 point at a time, one set at a time, until he came over the top. I love the way he's playing. I think it's going to be an absolute popcorn box office match.
My question is pretty simple for Holger Rune. If not now, when? This is your time. You've positioned yourself in your mind, and I get the fake it till you make it mentality of he wants it to be a big three with Sinner and Alcaraz. He wants to be that guy that's in their camp. He was an accomplished junior. He's done some great things on the pro level. but those guys have beaten Djokovic in a major. If you're not going to do it now, this is the opportunity.
Yeah. Right.
Which isn't 100%. He's still going to be very game, and he knows how to play, and he's won this tournament a bunch of times. But Holger needs this win. So this is the opportunity he's been dreaming of. Can he capitalize on it? That's why I'm so excited to watch how this goes and how the nerves are managed for Holger, because by all accounts, the cramping issue was nerve-related. So how will Holger respond if we've got a 2-all in the 5th set situation?
When's the last time we've seen him cramp?
Yeah, it's been a bit. But I
feel like he's past it. Past it.
No, and again, it's more of the guy's unbelievably fit. And that was actually eye-opening talking to tennis players that a lot of stuff's nerve-related. Alcaraz came out and said when he had the issue. So yeah, I just think we'll see. I'm expecting Holger to bring his A game because he knows this is the moment he needs. But to beat Djokovic, it's, you're going to have to.
Oh, yeah, right. Like, to beat Djokovic in any moment, yeah, and this late in a slam, it takes a whole lot of cojones that not many people have. We'll see at this physical state. Even at this physical state, the mental side of just beating Novak at this level can get to you. So I'm curious, though, will the roof be open? Are they going to, or is it just going to rain for the 100th day in a row?
100 days straight. Well, as we segue into the other match tomorrow that I want to focus on, Fritz and Zverev, it did remind me of a couple years ago when Nadal beat Fritz and then had to pull out against Kyrgios. That even when these all-time greats are not 100%, they just find a way. They're just battling to the very end.
Yeah,
especially at Wimbledon.
Oh,
so.
I would say you ask a tennis player this, they would say one of the more difficult things to do is to beat a guy who's hurt, because you mentally want to let up, because you're like you're not
worrying it's on your side of the net. You're worrying about them.
Yeah, and you're almost like feeling bad, but all it takes is like 2 points to like have whatever muscle that guy's dealing with to loosen up. And then all of a sudden he's back, and before you know it, the whole match is switched because you didn't care for 2 points because you lost a train of thought. You got to be ruthless out there when there's an injured dude across or woman, anything. Like you got to be, you got to. There's no hard feelings whatsoever. Just take them out. Like and that was, like you said, the Fritz Nadal was just like that, and obviously Nadal ends up pulling out after that.
Talking about Fritz, was that probably the most patriotic you felt in a long time? The handshake with Arthur Rinderknecht? Oh,
it was so cool. Like, he is so stupid, Arthur Rinderknecht.
Well, that's like, I don't have anything personal. I don't think this is the thing. Like, I don't think Fritz has anything personal either. And I don't think.
No, but once you poke the bear.
That's the thing. It's like, what did you expect when you talk trash about somebody in the media, that they're just going to hug you at the net? Like, they're going to be fine?
Was it like the day before he talked trash? Like, literally, the only other way he could have done it was tell him at the coin toss. Like, that's the only, like, the step below. The step above that was coin toss, hey, you're a loser. Like, that's basically what happened. And I just don't understand. Fritz handled that moment at the French Open so well. There was nothing he did. He didn't complain to the chair umpire. He didn't complain to the crowd. He won the match and shushed them. That was awesome.
The only issue with that entire situation was that it wasn't the final. It was round 3. And so you're going back out on the court playing against them, and they're going to be on you for the rest of the way.
Yeah.
But it was not.
But that's, to him, I think that's fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember that moment being so cool back then. And it's even cooler now that he was able, and I love the quote where he was like, the moment he said that, the match was over. That was all the motivation he needed. He was waiting. Every point that he won or lost, he was thinking about what he was going to say to him at the net. He was like, I need to tell this dude, have a good.
He said, He said, have a nice flight home. And then he said, I'm in doubles. He's like, good for you.
By the way, I'm in doubles is the worst response. That's just the lamest response ever. Honestly, it's so lame that maybe it did freeze Fritz. He was like, I did not expect that one. I expected like maybe a face-to-face. He just goes, I'm in doubles. All right. Yeah, whatever.
That's great.
Get lost. I hope they play in the U.S. Open. It would be electric.
Zverev, Fritz tomorrow over-under is 44 games. So they're expecting a long, hard-fought match. Also, not your father or grandfather's Wimbledon. These are going to be 2 guys on the baseline that don't really like to come to net.
Right.
So probably a long one tomorrow. Zverev on grass is still getting some good results. And another thing, too, is watching that tiebreak against Cam Norrie. Zverev's a big money tiebreak player. He's had a couple of those this year where he just stays calm, has that serve, and can find a way to win those lengthy tiebreakers.
What's his best result at Wimbledon?
It might be quarters. I'm gonna fact
isn't
check.
it weird that he isn't at? It's like not a good surface for him with his serve and his mobility. Like you'd think he just do well.
My thing with that, just starting off, would be we got to temper this a little because of he came up at the end of the Big Four era.
Yeah,
When there were just no spots,
yeah,
when those guys are just the semis, or there's very few.
yeah.
But no, I agree. I mean, I don't think with Zverev that it has happened as much before, and it should do better. But like, he still has so many weapons on this surface.
You would think he's a better
the net game. That's probably what it is.
Yeah,
He
maybe.
doesn't have a great,
But you would think he'd be a better grass court than clay, and he's not. He's better on clay.
way better.
Way better.
Yeah.
Zverev's better surface may be clay. Like I don't. It's very confusing to me. Fourth round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the second.
That doesn't make sense. So maybe this is maybe he's finding it a little bit. This is a little breakthrough for him. That is a fun match. I give the edge to Zverev just because I think that serve is so good. And honestly, this is a bit of two guys. Now Zverev will counter this, and he just went far in the French. But this is two guys who tend to choke a little bit in slams. Big moments, not great for them. So I'm curious to see who's standing last. I would say the over, just because we're going to get a few tie breaks, right?
Yeah. Fritz and Paul still jockeying to see who will be the number one American.
Separate. It's basically just who's last longer here, right? Basically.
Fritz has the hammer, but Paul can catch him. I think Paul might need to beat Alcaraz, but we'll see. I think if Fritz beats Zverev, he might be in pretty good shape. Okay. But they're one spot up, and then Shelton's one behind them, so they're right there, all in the top 15.
Good for tennis, man. Good for us.
Yeah. Any quick thoughts on the other two matches, Demar? You got Arthur Fies, Alex de Minaur, and then you also have Musetti taking on Mapeshi Pericard, the biggest alien in tennis right now.
That's my attention. That's my sole attention. It's a shame that it's at 6 in the morning. I might have to call Wimbledon right now and just complain to get that moved a little later. Or maybe it rains. I don't know. But GMP is an electric factory. That serve is ridiculous. 2 rounds ago, he had a second serve on break point that was 143 miles an hour, and he drilled it. In tie breaks, that guy feels like you can never beat him at a tie break because he actually has good. He's not just a serve ball; he's got touch. He kind of knows around. He's good around the net. Obviously, he needs to fine tune a lot. Like he's raw still, but there's talent there. Like this guy is going nowhere. He will be a problem, and he just by the way, he won Lyon. Like he already won the clay court tournament. So like it's not like people are gonna he's only a grass court. He already won on clay. So this guy is fun and exciting, and I think he's gonna bulldoze Musetti, and we'll see what happens after that.
Musetti can give him a tough one though. Also 2 one-handed backhands, so a little blast from the past.
Yeah, as a Fed guy, I appreciate that.
Yeah. That should be fun. Arthur Fies has been an exciting player, another young, exciting French player. De Minaur, the Demon's just so solid. I think Fies has had some long matches. He has some lapses where his level dips a little. And De Minaur has a grass court title this year. I see this being 4 sets for De Minaur. We'll see. We'll timestamp this, and I'll gladly admit if I'm wrong. But De Minaur is just well-rounded, and I don't think he's going to dip his level at all.
I'll go a step further, and I think this is straight sets for Demon. I just think a guy who can put a lot of balls back in play is a nightmare for Fies. And Demon has not really been challenged whatsoever. Obviously, and actually, he's even more rested because Luca Pouille had the walkover. So he's only played Duckworth and Munar to this point. Absolute sleepwalking here. Whereas Fies is coming off that 5-setter against Sofulin. He did get a break against Herkaj. So we'll see. I think I have Demon easy there. Yeah.
All right, well, we'll wrap this podcast up with the quarterfinal matchups that we do know about on Tuesday for the men. We mentioned Sinner Medvedev, and I think we're both expecting Sinner to kind of handle business there, which, by the way, is funny. It's you don't really see historically a rivalry flip on its head like that. Medvedev was 6-0, and now Sinner's just owned him. I think it's just insane what Sinner's done to just completely not just change the tennis, but the mental side of that rivalry now completely have the hammer.
I think it's all mental. It's just once he got through whatever point it was, and I think we talked about it. Was it the ATP Finals or was it Paris? he had a big moment, maybe. I forget what exactly. Yeah, you know. But it was a level up with him mentally. He's like, I can get through this now. And then obviously here comes the slam, and boom, superstar, #1 in the world. He's the face of Gucci. He's got Taylor Swift's ex-boyfriend at his dinner. All this. By the way, the fake quote, I don't know if you saw that. I got duped because I was drinking the other day. And it said that he had never heard of Taylor Swift. And I was like, damn, this guy's the new NFL fans who hate Taylor. This is their king now. It was false. So apparently he does know who Taylor Swift is. But anyways, this guy's a superstar. He's got the world in the palm of his hand. And Medvedev on the other side, like completely different trajectories right now. A guy who kind of, I feel like when he gets ousted in every slam, people are like, why doesn't this guy work on his serve more? It's always his serve failing him, right? And we'll probably see it again. I don't really see how this goes any different, but that's why they play the tennis matches, obviously. But I see Sinner advancing there. I see -345. That's actually a little bit of respect to Medvedev, but maybe he gets a set. Maybe. I am curious what this Carlos Tommy line is. Doesn't appear to be out, but
I don't know. Yeah. Well, Tommy on grass versus Alcaraz. Now I'm going to give my thoughts and then share them back to you. But I think that as much as I like Tommy Paul, as much as I love this rivalry, and it has been a true rivalry, they played banger after banger after banger of a match. And Tommy Paul on grass has looked good. I don't know, Hubbs, if he's going to have the same advantages against Alcaraz on this surface. I think that the way he's neutralized a lot of what Carlos has done, just on hard courts where they played, is retrieving balls that nobody else can get to. This is going to be a different type of match, and it might still be one where Tommy Paul can play tight with and win, but we're not going to see the same type of match where it's Alcaraz thumping the ball, and how does Tommy get that back? How does he flip the point? How does he win it? So I'm going to obviously lean Alcaraz to win this match. Tight 4 sets, I would say. I just don't know what the grass iteration of this rivalry is going to look like.
I think the wrinkle Tommy throws is serve and volley, and he's worked on it. It is, off the top of my head, I can't remember who his idol is, but I remember his idol is a giant serve and volley guy. I'm blanking on it badly, but I think that is going to be a good way to neutralize the Carlos return. Tommy is very good at the net. If he's spotting his first serve in, I expect to see a ton of that. Can that get him over the hump? I don't know. I'm going to say Carlos in 5, and it's an incredible match. I think Tommy's fitness is some of the best there is. Maybe #1. That guy can run for days. If Carlos plays the level he did today, I think Tommy is a solid chance of winning this match, because I really don't. He wasn't anything special today. He had a few great highlights that are going viral on Twitter right now, but if you watch the match, there wasn't a vintage Carlos domination. And I did say this earlier. Credit to Ugo maybe for that reasoning.
Yeah.
Tommy looked excellent today. I thought it was one of the best matches he's played in maybe ever. Like, he was just so solid altogether. Not the greatest opponent, obviously, but I think that is going to be a war box office. Do we have the time for that? No,
it won't be out. I do have a number -400 for Alcaraz, +310 for Tommy is the line.
That's a good line for Tommy.
It is. You make some good points. The only thing I would say too is if we're at what's the next step in the evolution of Alcaraz being an all-time great? What do the big 3 do? They get better each round. When there was no signs they look great, they just play a better opponent and then they play their best stuff. Just throwing that out there too, because I agree with you. He has not looked his best. He won Roland Garros without looking his best. So we'll see. But Paul, these matchups have been fun because of what Paul brings to the table athletically and how he's sharpened his game.
Yeah.
Because when you play Alcaraz, you have to bring it. You can't have lapses. It can be over in a flash. He might have an opening, very well might have an opening on Tuesday, but it's not going to last long. And you have to walk through that door, as Tiafoe found out.
I think it's so important for Tommy to win the first set. I think mentally, if he goes down 1-0, that's just not. I mean, we said the same thing against like Novak, right? You got to win the first set. You can't give them momentum, and even then, obviously, things can still go awry. Yeah. But if Tommy starts out early, I don't know. That could get some things. You know, I thought Carlos. Something I saw in Carlos today. I've never seen him as vocal towards like his box and being as confused as he was today when Ugo was doing his thing. Like, he was almost like similar to Coco, right? Like, now, Carlos figured it out. Coco lost, but they were both a little just like bewildered by like what was going on. I've never really seen Carlos that animated and vocal. So, yeah, I don't know. That might just be his form. That might just been Ugo playing great, but we'll see if it transpires into Tuesday. I'm very excited for that match.
Last thing, too, would be if we have Alcaraz Sinner again, it'd be the 10th time on the ATP level that they played already at their age. We got Djokovic and Nadal pacing the field at 59. Could they get to that number? Is that possible? We're going to get to a formality where they get to 60 matchups?
Yeah. It's a young number. Like, come on. Who's
That's a lot, though. Yeah.
But who's going to ruin the party? Like, I haven't seen a worthy third, fourth guy that's ruin the party. Like, those guys are so good, and it's going to be great. And we're going to watch 100 of them, and we're going to enjoy every single moment. And Wimbledon's never going to tweet out a highlight of it.
Can you believe Sinner won this point? Will be the next one. Awesome stuff. Well, I can't wait. This Wimbledon's has been phenomenal. We've still got an insane second week left to go. Barstool Hubbs, always appreciate you coming on the show, taking time out of your schedule. Follow all of his stuff at Barstool Sports. Tweet him at Barstool Hubbs too. A lot of good takes there. I know he's going to be glued to the tennis like I am. So Hubbs, thanks for coming on the podcast. It's always a pleasure talking tennis.
Hey, when the Yankees let me down, I can rely on tennis as my crutch to cheer me up. So, yeah, absolutely, man. I hope for a great second week. Let's get no more injuries. Not allowing it right now. Not allowing it.
No, it's over. It's over. Hubbs, always a pleasure, my man. Thanks for coming on the show.
Got it.